weeks ago, I lost 5 hours of my life, and I still have no idea what happened. Time jumped forward, then it jumped backward. My clocks showed times that hadn't happened yet, and in the middle of it all, I suffered an injury that disappeared from my body, but not from my memory. This is the most confusing, frightening experience I've ever had, and I need help understanding it. It started at 11:45 in the morning. I know the exact time because I had just woken up when my phone rang. It was my doctor's office calling to confirm my appointment at 4:45 p.m., exactly 5 hours from that moment. I told them yes, I'd be there, hung up, and started getting ready for the day. Nothing unusual. Then I heard it, a loud crash from the kitchen. I rushed in to find my kitchen window completely smashed. There was glass everywhere. The entire window just shattered. I looked around frantically trying to figure out what had caused it. A rock, a bird, something thrown. But there was nothing. No reason for this window to have exploded like that. It made no sense, but I didn't have time to figure it out. I had things to do before my appointment, so I started cleaning up the glass. I checked the time to see how much I had left. It was 12 p.m. 15 minutes had passed. I kept cleaning, carefully picking up the larger pieces of glass and putting them in the trash. And that's when it happened. A shard of glass sliced the entire side of my hand. A deep cut running along the whole side of my palm. It hurt. I felt the glass cut through my skin. I felt the immediate warmth of blood on my hand. I have a thing about blood. I always faint when I see it. So I quickly put my hand under the tap without looking at it, letting the water run over the wound. Once I felt like I'd washed it enough, I grabbed a paper towel, wrapped it around my hand, and held it there with pressure. I kept my eyes away from it, just focusing on keeping the paper towel in place. After a minute or two, I noticed the paper towel wasn't soaking through. With a cut that big, that deep, it should have been covered in blood, but it was dry. I unwrapped it slowly, preparing myself to see the wound. There was nothing. No blood. No cut. Not even a scratch. My hand was completely fine, but I know what I felt. I felt the glass slice my skin. I felt the sting. I felt the blood. I know what happened, but there was no evidence it had ever occurred. I stood there staring at my hand, completely confused. I looked at the microwave to check the time. It said 4:15 p.m. Wait, what? I got up at 11:45. I talked to my doctor for maybe 10 minutes, so that brings us to 11:55. I got out of bed, heard the crash, started cleaning at 12 o'clock, cut my hand, washed it, wrapped it, unwrapped it. How did all of that take over 4 hours? I stood there trying to piece together where the time had gone. Had I blacked out? Had I been standing there in some kind of daze? I didn't feel like I'd lost consciousness. I remembered everything, but somehow 5 hours had vanished. I started panicking. I had 30 minutes to get to my doctor's office, and I still wasn't ready. I threw on clothes, grabbed my keys, and ran to my car. I started driving, my mind racing, trying to make sense of what had just happened. About 10 minutes into the drive, I glanced at the clock in my car. 4:15 p.m. Still 4:15. That couldn't be right. I'd been driving for at least 10 minutes. I checked again a few minutes later. Still 4:15. The clock wasn't moving. Time had frozen. I kept glancing at it as I drove. 4:15. 4:15. 4:15. The numbers didn't change. I live about 25 minutes from my doctor's office. By the time I pulled into the parking lot, it should have been at least 4:40. I parked the car and checked my phone. 11 a.m. 11 in the morning. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. That wasn't possible. I'd woken up at 11:45. The doctor had called me at 11:45. It was 4:15 just moments ago. How was it now, 11 o'clock? I turned the car back on and checked the dashboard clock. 11 a.m. Time had gone backward. I sat there in the parking lot, completely lost. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was real. I still had hours before my appointment, apparently. I drove back home with my mind spinning, trying to make sense of any of this. When I walked back into my house, I checked every clock, the microwave, the stove, my phone, my laptop. They all said 11:25 a.m. It would make sense. That's about 25 minutes from the doctor's office. If I'd just driven home, that's the time it would be. But here's the thing that made my blood run cold. I opened my phone and checked my call log. I needed to see when my doctor had actually called me. The call was logged at 11:45 a.m. 11:45. But it wasn't 11:45 yet. According to every clock in my house, in my car, on my phone, it was only 11:25. How did I receive a call from the future? I've been replaying this over and over in my head for 2 weeks now. I've tried to come up with logical explanations. Maybe I was more tired than I thought, and I fell asleep standing up. But I remember everything. I remember picking up each piece of glass. I remember the feeling of the water running over my hand. I remember wrapping the paper towel. Maybe all my clocks were wrong. But then, how do you explain time jumping from 4:15 back to 11? Maybe I had some kind of medical episode, but I feel fine. I felt fine that day. No dizziness, no confusion, nothing except the absolute certainty that time itself had broken. The cut on my hand, the one that wasn't there. I still remember exactly how it felt. The sharp pain, the warmth of the blood. How do you remember something so vividly that never happened? And the window, my kitchen window that shattered for no reason. It's still broken. I had to get it replaced. That part was real. But everything else, the missing 5 hours, the time that went backward, the injury that vanished, I have no explanation. If anyone out there has experienced something like this, or if you have any idea what could have happened to me, please let me know in the comments. I'm desperate for answers, because 2 weeks later I still don't know what happened that day, and I'm terrified it might happen again. Has anything like this happened to you? Leave a comment to share so I won't feel as alone. Thanks for watching.